Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 career mode here on the channel, the final episode of season 4 coming your way today. One more season coming after this season here, which is only going to be a 10 race season for the final season, I should mention right now, but stay tuned on the schedule and of course what's going on with that. Coming into today's episode, we have a chance to win our first World Drivers' Championship. Just 5 points separate myself, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lando Norris, and it comes with a little bit of controversy and drama coming into this race here because we felt like we deserved third place over Lando Norris in the last episode in that photo finish, but actually Alex on Twitter had actually went into his little Photoshop software and found through just the editing here that Lando Norris, sure enough, if you look at this right here, finished ahead of us by probably millimeters right there. So unfortunately, it looks like, sure enough, the FIA, Michael Massey, they might have actually got something right here. We for sure finished in 4th place, unfortunately there, but that sets us back by a few extra points coming into this championship weekend here. Not sure exactly what to expect behind the wheel of this McLaren. There you see Lewis Hamilton, his final F1 GP set to get underway here in this career mode. He is retiring at the conclusion of this episode. You can see practice got off to a bit of a rough start here on this championship weekend. Am I feeling the pressure here going for my first title? We'll have to wait and see here now as we were starting to get into a nice rhythm here. I didn't do any practice laps without the braking line until the actual practice session right here that you are seeing. So I had to learn pretty quickly on the fly here, but I kind of like to go in on the fly. I feel like I have to kind of get up to grips a little bit quicker and it kind of gets me going better. So unfortunately wasn't looking great though in practice. The speed, the pace just wasn't there, especially in Sector 3. I noticed I was really struggling here as we came through into the first qualifying sessions. Some overcast skies here. What a beautiful venue Abu Dhabi is. You know, with this configuration before they changed it in real life, wasn't necessarily the best track for racing, but boy was it an absolutely beautiful venue, and I really do like the new track changes here. But you can see one thing that I forgot to do. I switched my engine part because I didn't want to wear it, and I forgot to switch it back before we started qualifying to get the freshest part possible, because I didn't want to put any extra wear in practice on the engine than I needed to. So I made a big error already. We made it into Q2, but we just barely squeezed in. I was really struggling. Sector 3 was where I was losing the most time, and I thought it might have been the braking line being off that I was just so far off, but I was doing comparisons with the braking line on compared to having it off, and I wasn't giving up really any extra time. So I was just simply down on pace compared to the AI in that 3rd sector. So it was not looking good, not looking favorable for us here to start this championship weekend in Abu Dhabi here as we come through this 3rd sector, and I was just hoping, please get a good lap. Well, it was a terrible lap, and I decided I knew I wouldn't better my starting position, so I actually changed to a new internal combustion engine part that we had in the last GP, and I sacrificed a qualifying effort here because we had no pace in Sector 3 specifically. I don't know what it was, and that means for this championship race, we start at the back of the grid. Let's head to the grid.
It's the final chapter of the season then here at the spectacular Yas Marina circuit. It's a race where the pole sitter failed to finish in 3 of the first 4 events. A front row start here is by no means a guarantee of victory, so we go into battle once more as we get underway at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. We have 21 corners here at the Yas Marina circuit, 12 to the left and 9 to the right. It's a total lap distance of just over 3.4 miles. There are 2 long back straights opening up some passing opportunities into the braking zones, and we expect average lap speeds of around 123 miles an hour. Anthony Davidson is with me one last time this year as we bid a fond farewell to another great season of Formula One.
Well, the winter break is looming once again. No doubt many of those teams already have their eyes firmly on next season. But there's still work to be done here. Still championship positions to decide, which can make a big difference to the prize money. So no one's going to be taking their foot off the throttle just yet.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and Lando Norris lines up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Gasly, Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Russell and Antonio Giovinazzi, Vettel, Bottas, Mick Schumacher and Stroll, Ocon. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Latifi, and Guan Yu Zhou. They've taken a grid penalty, and Callum Islet, Lundgaard, and the Golden Boy. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
Probably the worst start imaginable to a championship episode here for us here in Abu Dhabi, with issues in practice, issues in qualifying, and now our back is against the wall because you saw the starting grid. Lando Norris right now almost handed a World Drivers' Championship because Daniel Ricciardo, he did not have a good qualifying effort either here, as we got this formation lap underway here, getting ready to head back to our starting grid spots and get lights out racing here from Abu Dhabi. And I knew the assignment now at this point was the only way we can really do anything without a safety car is we need to try and do a different strategy. That was the goal here, is it's going to be 5 red lights and it's going to be lights out, and we are underway in the championship race here. 5 points separate myself, Norris, and Ricciardo, and there you see Norris and Verstappen wheel to wheel into turn 1, but it's going to be right off the bat Verstappen staying ahead there. Norris not pushing the issue too much. He knows in this position right here he is the World Drivers' Champion. Lando Norris hasn't won a single GP all season long here coming into Abu Dhabi, and here he is with an opportunity to still win this World Drivers' Championship. Daniel Ricciardo looked like he didn't gain nor lose anything there behind the Ferrari duo of both Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. I myself, you can see, stuck in position right now, can't really do a whole lot now as we get past the Williams, other 2 Alpha, or the Audis, sorry, side by side just in front of us there. Now as you can see though, Verstappen leads the way here into the heavy braking zone, and now it's just all about, for myself, getting through this traffic as quick as I can. But I'm already on lap 1 thinking, what do we have to do differently here? Because Abu Dhabi has gone both ways in the past. Sometimes we get a safety car, sometimes we don't. I'm going on a limb here based off of the trends of this season. This has been the calmest season we've had in this career mode in terms of safety cars. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take an approach to this race. As you see Ricciardo past Carlos Sainz there, but I'm taking the approach of we're not going to get a safety car, so therefore the original strategy for everybody here in this Abu Dhabi GP is 2 pit stops. I'm going to try and make it on 1 pit stop. I started on the medium compound tire. I'm going to try and pit with about 10 laps to go or so in the GP, push it as late as I can, and then put on the soft compound tire to the end of this race to give myself an opportunity. You see myself making up some good ground right there, but there's an Alpine off the pace. That was George Russell, who had some wing damage there on the opening lap of this GP, as Verstappen Norris lead the way down into turn 1, and then you got, of course, the AlphaTauris there just behind. Sorry, that was not George Russell, that was Esteban Ocon. So we had a slow start to the lap, but we had a nice last half of lap. We got up to 14th place, and now here we are putting some pressure on Mick Schumacher here in the Haas Maserati, and we're going to go cruising by on the outside. He's going to try and stick his nose back up the inside, really sailed it off in there. Maybe I braked a little bit too early, but nonetheless, we still go through and take P13. And it wasn't long till the drivers on the soft tires had to come into the pit lane. They have to pit pretty early. That's why it's a 2-stop race. And I love my 2-stop races because it opens up the potential for strategy here now as we come through to lap 3. DRS enabled, closing in on the back of fellow Canadian of Lance Stroll. Obviously, it's hard to find passing opportunities in this third sector unless you have a major pace advantage compared to the car in front of you, and it wasn't until the front straightaway into turn 1 when I actually had an opportunity to go wheel to wheel here with Lance Stroll in that Haas Maserati. So now up into 12th place there, out of turn 1 on lap 4. We got a little bit of ground to make up to Sebastian Vettel, 2.3 seconds, so we're not going to have any DRS helping us here for a little bit at least, as that Aston Martin is higher than McLaren on the R&D chart. So I was curious to see how hard it would be to run down Sebastian Vettel. As you see Lando Norris actually with DRS now trying to make a pass on Max Verstappen to take the lead of the GP. Verstappen's not going to back out of it. They're actually going to make contact right there, and that would end up giving damage to Max Verstappen's front wing. He would have to come in and replace that wing at the conclusion of lap 4. So a little bit of Red Bull drama right there as we cut through to now the end of lap 5. Look at my rear tires. They are extremely hot, and I was really struggling with that here in this race as well in the early laps, but I would fortunately calm it down enough to where it didn't become too much of an issue. We were now up into P11 trying to run down Vettel, 1.7 seconds a gap, and we were quicker than Vettel, but not as quick as I would have preferred. Unfortunately here, as now pit stops would get underway for the drivers on the soft compound tires. Our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo is going to come in here. Lando Norris as well pit, and I knew, like I said, we have to commit to a one-stop strategy strategy if we want to give ourselves any chance to have a shot at a World Drivers' Championship today, because I just don't see a safety car coming out. We continue slowly reeling in Vettel. We would cycle through into second place. Vettel leading the way. Lando Norris was on the move, though. He was already within 3.5 seconds of myself within just a few laps after pitting, and here we come through to Sebastian Vettel now pitting at the conclusion of lap 10, and look on the timer right there. Lando Norris is right behind me. You can see him, of course, on the radar, and now it's game on, because I know I need to fight Lando. If I just let him breeze past, then it's going to be game over, and I know for a fact that I cannot pit yet for another at least 7 laps or so if I want to try and make it to the end of the soft tires. So I let Lando go because I know I'll get DRS on him, and it wasn't actually till the second DRS straightaway that I got enough of a run here to try and make a lunge at Lando. To the left-hand side, he doesn't cover it off too much here. We're going to be wheel to wheel. I go a little bit deep into the corner, open the door for the switchback, but you can't really do a switchback into there. Lando actually hops over the little sausage curb there and loses a little bit of ground on myself here, so we stay ahead for the time being and had a bit of a moment to breathe, but it wasn't long, because here we are, lap 12 down the long DRS straightaway again. Lando Norris with the DRS closing in quick. I see the DRS detection zone coming up, so I decide let off the throttle, let Lando go have the spot, and then I'm just going to get him back here on this next DRS straightaway and take the lead back of this GP, and just we're going to do this as long as we possibly can to try and remain in this. And if I can't keep myself in the championship fight, I could be helping my teammate Daniel Ricciardo at the same time. We're going to once again breeze right on by this time of Lando Norris. Now, it's actually, I still end up overdriving the corner just a tad bit, but we move back into that first spot here for the time being. But how much longer can we hang on to that top spot? Well, you might be surprised, because here at the end of this 12th lap, Lando Norris comes into the pit lane. I was like, what in the world happened? Well, here's what happened. I never even noticed. Norris ran into the back of me on the same lap here into the braking zone and got wing damage. You can see on my radar right here, replay, it never even went red. I had no idea Lando got anywhere near my rear diffuser. So Lando Norris might have just thrown his championship away by driving straight into the back of me. It was the lightest contact, but it was enough. And I don't know if I slowed down too early. I didn't feel like it because I hit the apex normally. But Lando, of course, just drove right into the back of me and damaged his wing, and suddenly we are in a fight with now Daniel Ricciardo for this World Drivers' Championship. Here comes Pierre Gasly, of course. He would run me down and cruise on past. I wasn't going to put a fight to Pierre Gasly because we're not racing Pierre Gasly. We're racing now Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris, by the way, put on the soft compound tires, so he cannot make it to the end of this GP on that set of soft compound tires, so he has to pit another time, as now Ricciardo was quickly closing the gap here to lap 17. I was planning to pit next time around, not this time around here for this one-stop strategy. Well, Daniel Ricciardo throws a curveball at me. He comes into the pit lane as he's running me down, and immediately the concern picks up. I wanted to be the one to pit before Ricciardo to have that tire advantage. Well, now Ricciardo has the tire advantage. I knew we were in trouble as soon as that happened. I come into the pit lane here at the conclusion of lap 18. The strategy has for sure worked. Stretching it to a one-stop has indeed worked here by starting on this medium compound tire. So we come in and we're going to put on this set of soft compound tires and hope there's enough pace in this car to fight Daniel Ricciardo for a World Drivers' Championship. Ricciardo coming through right now as we head down into this pit exit through the underground tunnel, but Ricciardo is going to be comfortably ahead of myself, and by what, 3.4, 3.5, nearly 4 seconds ahead was Ricciardo right there. So I knew game on at this point. We only have 10 laps to go on the season, fighting for our first ever World Drivers' Championship, and so is Daniel Ricciardo. Lando Norris is trying to go back to back. Don't forget, Lando Norris won the World Drivers' Championship last season with McLaren, moved to Red Bull, then we of course came over and replaced Lando Norris here at this McLaren Vodafone team, but we were running out of time and the gap was getting larger between myself and Ricciardo. Gasly was on the hard compound tire. He had absolutely no pace compared to my soft compound tires at this point here, so I'm going to breeze past Gasly here with the DRS, but of course the urgency picking up, but I'm realizing I just don't have enough pace to fight Ricciardo. I'm on a faster, grippier compounded tire, and I'm still losing time to Ricciardo, even in the simple parts of the tracks, and I couldn't wrap my head around it because I certainly wasn't having any issues getting around the circuit at this point, but Ricciardo just had so much pace suddenly in these late laps, and I just knew that unless Ricciardo has some form of mechanical failure, some maybe tire issue, it's game over. Look at this, 3 laps to go, 6.7 seconds a gap, and at this point here, I just backed the pace down and said bring the car home and just hope something happens at this point, because it's not gonna, there's not enough in it for me to be able to run him down. So I really backed the pace down here and just kind of accepted it, and the soft tires were already falling off at this point. Final lap underway in Season 4. We had one unbelievable season. What a ride it has been. Ricciardo came out of the gate unbelievably strong. Daniel Ricciardo did. In the first half of the season, nearly every race that he finished without a mechanical issue was a race victory, and usually with the races where he did have a mechanical failure, he was leading those ones as well. And he, honestly, those mechanical failures is what didn't make this a walk-off championship for Ricciardo this season, and that's what kept myself and Lando Norris in the mix. Lando hasn't won all season. That's not going to happen either tonight here in Abu Dhabi. The defending champion doing, I think, what Verstappen did basically the season after he won his championship in this career mode. I think Verstappen might have won one race though in his season after his world title. But here we are with what, 3 wins or 4 wins? I can't even remember what it is. I think we're at 3 wins on the season at this point. But we really lit it up at Singapore. We turned it up in Mexico. We've picked up 2 wins in the last half of the season. We started the season with a win in Imola in the race number 2. We were in position to win our home race, the Canadian GP, until a mechanical failure, of course, put that to an end, and that's what might be the difference maker for us here in Abu Dhabi. Now, what a rough weekend it started out to be in practice, and qualifying didn't go well. The race really didn't go well. We just had strategy on our side to put us up into 2nd place. Ricciardo exits the final turn. He wins in Abu Dhabi. He wins his first World Drivers' Championship. We're gonna get 2nd place here. Nothing to hang our heads low on. We gave it everything we had. We put the fight to Ricciardo and Norris, but it just wasn't enough. We finished 2nd, Gasly 3rd, Lewis Hamilton in his final race in Formula 1 will exit the final turn in front of Lando Norris. Hamilton will finish 4th in his final GP in Formula 1. What a career for the 7-time world champion. Let's head to the championship celebrations.
It's certainly been an incredible year for Formula 1, and our drivers have all pushed themselves this season, making it one of the most compelling years of racing in history. There can only be one champion, however, and here they are now, our new Formula 1 World Drivers' Champion. They've done it then. Victory in the last race of the season and the championship as well. What a phenomenal end to a terrific Formula 1 season. Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
There you have the podium celebrations, as well as Daniel Ricciardo's celebratory burnout. As you also see the finishing order, no DNFs here in the final GP of the season, but you know, disappointing that we couldn't win the GP and the World Drivers' Championship. I really wanted to win it for you guys, but it just wasn't meant to be. But you know what? Before F1 22 drops, we have one more opportunity to win a championship. Now, unfortunately, it's going to be a relatively short season here, only 10 races on the season, so we're not going to have a whole lot of time to get stuff done. We did 16 this season, so we removed 10 races, so you really can't afford many issues next season, and you can see us trying to adapt more parts before going into next season. But with Lewis Hamilton leaving the sport, retiring from Formula 1 competition, you can see his name grayed out right there. It's going to leave the door open for a lot of driver movement possibilities, and we'll have to wait and see in the next episode what happens there. But you know, McLaren goes P1, P2 in the World Drivers' Championship, and we also win McLaren the Constructors' Championship. What a season it has been, obviously our best one to date, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the ride, and we go into next season one final shot to win a World Drivers' Championship. Hopefully we started out with a bang. We need to bring the fight to Daniel Ricciardo because he has been unbelievable. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day, everybody.